I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Are you ready to win at the game of life? Well, throw out that rulebook and get down to the business of being the best and most authentic version of you. Welcome to the Human Design Podcast. We're changing the rules around success, abundance, purpose, love, and life, where we're creating a planet where everyone can thrive in a world that loves and supports each other. I'm your host, Emma Dunwoody, a qualified master coach, human design expert, podcaster, and entrepreneur that is living the life of my dreams, breaking all the rules while doing it, making a huge impact, and living my design and manifesting miracles on the daily. Join me as I break down and simplify everything you need to live in alignment with your human design, teach you how to recondition your unconscious mind for greatness, and to take back your power so you can manifest your heaven on earth and serve the rest of the planet at the same time. It's time to give up the fear and step into your highest potential, to reach for the stars, to know and live your greatness. It's what you deserve, and it's what the planet really needs from you. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Let's talk about the FLFE, or Focused Life Force Energy. I've been in love with this service since 2019, and I attribute a lot of my improved performance in all areas of my life since then to this incredible service. Right after I first put the FLFE on my home, my business took off, and to be honest, my kids actually started getting along better than they had in a really long time. But back to the business. I actually launched my first mastermind the first week of lockdown with great success when many were struggling. Last year, when I was walking the Camino, I noticed that my body was a lot stronger and fitter, and I'd gone without the joint pain that I'd actually experienced 4 years earlier when I walked it for the first time. And I honestly believe it's being in the FLFE for the last 4 years that's helped my body over that time rest and recover and build muscle and strength. And as I've navigated a number of significant challenges over the last 4 years, like losing both my parents, the end of a 24-year marriage, and building a 7-figure business, I often hear from friends how amazed they are by how quickly I move through challenge, how quickly I get to a place of love, releasing the pain, the trauma, and the conditioning much faster than many. And I know that I get to letting go and love much faster than I used to. The FLFE raises the consciousness of a building or a place or device that it's connected to, meaning that everything and everyone in the vicinity of this higher consciousness field accesses more love, healing, success, and joy than when you were swimming around in the standard collective consciousness. This gives you access to greater inspiration, ideas, thinking, healing, dimensions, grace, and all sorts of good things. To top this all off, the FLFE mitigates EMF. It actually transforms the harmful non-native EMF frequency into good, healing, and protective frequency of shungite. My dog Alice cannot get enough of my phone ever since I switched it on, often sleeping with her head directly on it. Jeffrey and Clayton, the founders and creators of this service, are on a mission to raise consciousness and to get their incredible service to as many people as possible. And so it is very affordable, and you can try it for free for 2 weeks with no obligation. And if you like it, then you can sign up. Check out the links in the show notes and turn your home and office into a temple. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode. On today's episode, we're going to finally get to the part 2 of Ask Me Anything. So if you want to be a part of one of these Ask Me Anything episodes, make sure that you are on our email list. T, what's the best way for people to be on our email list?
The best way is to go to emmadunwoody.com and get your free chart, because that will put you on the email list. And if you don't want to do that, or you already have your chart, if you just go to emmadunwoody.com and scroll to the bottom, you'll see a place to get on the newsletter.
Amazing. So make sure that you are on our list so that you do not miss out on all the cool stuff. So today, obviously, I have the incredible Taylor Jyson with me.
Hi.
Who is hilarious right now because she's being really cash and relaxed thinking that I am not going to post the video. But I'm thinking, Sherelle, let's just post the video. This is what it looks like.
We can post the video. That's fine.
Cool.
I knew you were going to do that.
I just thought you were being extra like, oh, whatever.
I'm that way no matter what.
Yeah, true. So, T, we have a long list of questions, and I'll try not to rant too long.
Yeah, quite a few.
It'll be fun, though. Let's do it.
Okay, first one, and I like the timing of this because your book comes out tomorrow in Australia.
Woohoo!
So that's exciting. We'll put the links in the show notes to get the book. Go get it, people. It's so good. And the audio version is available as of tomorrow in Australia as well. And Emma narrated it herself. And it took ages, and it's really good. So please go listen to the audio version.
Please do, because it took so much effort for this dyslexic kid to sit in a booth and read out loud for days on end. Like, seriously.
It's really good. Anyway, so that first question is going to tie right into that from Ashley. What has been your favorite part of writing your book?
I think that my favorite part of writing my book was actually realizing how easy it can be to write a book. My book has been a real teacher of mine. You guys may kind of hear that I take all of these experiences in my life, and they're, these experiences that actually teach me how to do and achieve and experience other things in my life. So what I mean by that is my book, I literally just said on my podcast, I'm going to write a book this year. Within 8 months, a friend of mine gave my name to a book agent. Then very easily, I found a publisher. It happened to be one of the imprints of Penguin, so published by Penguin. Then I got all the help that I needed to write said book. Then it was out. It was like really easy. So my favorite thing about writing my book is the evidence of how easy success can be when you follow your strategy and authority. When you let go of what you think it should look like, you don't have attachment to the outcome, and you just trust your design, you trust the universe, you trust yourself, and you're just the most authentic version of you following strategy and authority. How easy these things can be. And of course, my second most favorite thing is that everyone gets to read it. I'm so excited to share it with everybody.
It's so good. Please go read it. And it's been so fun to be with you on the journey and during the process. It's been so easy and exciting, and I just loved every second of it.
Thank you.
And our next question is from Soma. And Soma, I just got to say I relate to you. So we're going to answer this. Soma asked, I find too many things interest me, but I'm struggling to find my true calling in life. I don't want and can't afford to waste time on the wrong thing or make a wrong move. Any suggestions?
I love this. The simple answer is you really need to define the difference between your mind and your strategy and authority. Okay, that's like the textbook answer for you. But let me tell you just a really quick story of mine. I thought for years that I was running out of time to find why I was on the planet, running out of time to actually then build whatever that thing was, running out of time age-wise, all sorts of things. And it really hindered me for a long time. Now, the lesson that I've learnt is, let's say, Soma, maybe you have a line 6 in your profile, or like me, you have a line 6 in your design Venus, I believe it is. Anyway, your SQ, which is patience. The point is, some of us are designed to be patient. We need to be more patient because our success comes over time. Our wisdom comes over time. Now, this is a line 6. If you have a line 6 in your profile, this is a trait. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful in your 20s. It just means that it's a long road, not a fast road. And what's really cool is I actually always have called myself for many years the tortoise. Like, you know the story of the tortoise and the hare? I feel like a tortoise. But at the end of the day, and T and I were talking about this yesterday, we're teaching a lot of business inside HDX right now. And one of the things that I'm really grateful for, and I can see the power in it, is that I've grown this business, or we have grown this business in, it's taken more time than a lot of other people that have multiple 7-figure businesses. I mean, or has it, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the point is we have built a very sustainable, solid business. Like, this business is as solid foundationally as you can get a business. And it's taken us time to do that and grow that and build that. So that's the one thing that I want to say. The other thing I want to say is you need to really get clear on this piece, being out of alignment versus being out of your comfort zone, and the difference between operating from the mind and operating from the strategy and authority. Okay, because the mind is going to have you running around trying to do all the things. Your strategy and authority are going to guide you to the things. Okay, all the things your mind thinks you need to have or do or be, versus the universe strategy, your inner authority working together to take you where you need to go. Now, sometimes you're going to have multiple focus, and that's okay. But you really need to understand, or you really need to get used to the feeling in your body when it's correct for you. Do that. The feeling in your body when you're operating from the mind, don't do that. I trust that answers your question.
Well said. Our next question. This is a question I know you're going to love, because this is just the kind of stuff I feel like you just love this stuff. So this is from Carolina. Carolina asked, I spend a lot of time in the astral realm talking to guides and spirits. My question is, as a generator, if they tell me something, can I respond to it, or does it still count as internal, and responding is really only once you get confirmation from the 3D reality?
Yeah, great question. I think the simple answer is let's call it the 3D reality. Think about it this way. All of our internal senses, so that's what we call our clairs, clairvoyance, clairsentience, etc., versus our external senses. Our external senses is how we operate in the 3D dimension, okay? So ultimately, as a generator, we have to have something show up in our external reality. But remember, our external reality, our 3D reality, is just a reflection of our internal world. But what it's telling you is this is actually giving you something to say, I have energy for this or not. Because to be honest, even with our guides and ancestors and our angels, there's a lot of energies up there giving us a lot of advice. Ultimately, strategy and authority gives us the guidance for this individual that we are, this individual higher self, this soul. So yes, you do, because if you wait for the things externally of you to respond to, and maybe your guides are all giving you this awareness, all of this awareness, like what to look for, what you're actually waiting to respond to, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, I don't know, whatever they're telling you. And then once it shows up in your reality, it's literally like turning on the motor, because ultimately the sacral response is about switching on the sacral motor, switching on the energy. So if you don't have something external, you're not actually in alignment switching on the energy. You're just saying, yeah, that feels like something that'd be cool, but my motor hasn't been engaged yet. So when we respond to something external, and we get like a clear yes as a pure sacral generator, then we know that's the path of least resistance. We go from the mind, our guides, all these other energies could be telling us a bunch of stuff, and again, it's just mental energy. It's not action energy. So the two are, the two need each other. Yes, we need mental energy, but we also need the sacral energy. So the simple answer is you still need to wait for something external to respond to.
I love that. As an MG, that was a helpful reminder. So thank you, especially with the defined Ajna. A lot going on up there. Okay, a little pivot into a Gene Keys question. This is from Annie, and Annie asked, you speak about the Gene Keys more frequently than other HD professionals. Can you share a basic, what are they and how do they influence or infuse into human design?
Great question. And yes, I do. And the reason why I use them is because I actually feel like when you use the Gene Keys and human design together, it amplifies both of them. So the best explanation that I've heard about the Gene Keys and human design is actually from Richard Rudd, who is the creator of the Gene Keys, or at least the channel of the Gene Keys, and Kim Gould, who's an incredible Australian human design expert. She's actually the person that I certified with. And they were talking on a podcast interview about the Gene Keys and human design and how they differ and how they work together. And ultimately what they talked about was the human design is like the skeleton, the masculine. the structure, the strength. Then the gene keys is like the feminine. It's the meat on the bones. It's the muscles. It's the skin. It's the expression. So the two of them work so beautifully together. For me personally, the reason why I use them, I think it's because like I am all about evolution. I'm a performance coach. I'm like, how can I do things better? That's what I've always been driven to do. And that's how I help people. So ultimately, if we're going to do things better, we have to have room for growth and evolution. Sometimes with human design, it doesn't make space for that. You know, it might say, for example, I have the gate 36. Well, gate 36 is the gate of crisis. These people experience blah, 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 whatever. Well, that is very three-dimensional, even two-dimensional. That's not how humans work. Humans work on an evolutionary scale. So for me, the gene keys, which represent what we call in human design the 64 gates or the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, they talk about shadow, gift, and city. What we're talking about there is the journey. So the journey of the 36, you know, that might come from crisis, but it moves to the citic state of compassion. So it gives me this journey that I can go on, the growth, the evolution. So honestly, I love the two of them together because human design has all the big, you know, the big hitters like type, strategy, authority, profile, really understanding the definition within your centers and where you're undefined. Then the gene keys just bring this nuance, this evolutionary path to all of the beauty of human design. So yeah, I hope that's simple enough.
Yeah, and just as a reminder for everyone, if the gene keys are something you want to go into deeper, Elijah Parker is teaching them all in HTX this year. He's already done the activation sequence.
Yep.
We're in the middle of the Venus sequence right now.
Which is just mind-blowing, I have
just
to tell you.
Amazing. And then at the end of the year, he'll be teaching the Pearl sequence as well. So,
which is all about prosperity and wealth.
Yeah. So those are in there and they will continue to live in there. So you can come join HTX and learn more about the gene keys if that interests you. Our next question is from Emily. I have a totally open throat. How can I best use my voice in my marketing?
Ooh, I love this one. So with an open throat, I think so often, so many people say, you know, you're not designed to speak, don't speak. And I just don't think that is true at all. One of the things we have to understand about our undefined centers is these are the areas that we are going to build the muscle and become an expert, okay? If we stick at it, if we don't let the fear and conditioning that lives in there keep us doing the same patterns. So an open throat pattern that you might keep doing is just talking to fill up space, just like talking, filling up space, trying to be heard. That's an unresourceful, undefined open throat pattern that needs to be healed. If you want to go to episode 95 of my podcast, it goes through every center, decondition every center. You can go and do that. But ultimately, an undefined throat, what's that, or an open throat, either way, what it's all about is that you have this ability to feel into what other people aren't saying, what people want to hear from you, what communication needs to happen, like what wants to be made manifest. All of this, there's amazing beauty that you can feel into with all the throat energy, okay? Because you're taking it, amplifying it, and reflecting it back. So one of the things that I would be very aware of are like, what are the habits that you've built? I would hope, number one, if you have an open or an undefined throat, then the number one habit you want to build is being a good listener. Because as you can listen to people, as you can really hear what's being said and not what's being said, this is where your superpower starts to be built, where the muscle starts to be built, because you will communicate more about the things that aren't said, about what you feel, as opposed to what is being said. And when you do respond using your throat, then it will be from a place of, wisdom that's been created through that process. So how do you work with your marketing? Well, just because you've got an undefined throat doesn't mean that you can't use your voice for marketing. But perhaps I would say, well, what are your other skills? What are the other parts of your your design that actually really do help you market. What are the lines of your profile? What's sitting in your Mercury? What dissenters do you have defined? So these are the things that are going to help you use your voice and articulate what you need to and how you need to articulate things. Also, it's funny now that you said that, I'm like, I just have to say, like, this is exactly what Yvette Mayer taught in HDX, like really getting us super clear on what to focus on when creating our marketing message. So there's loads of other places. Even if you go and listen to the Transits podcast, that's another thing Yvette teaches all the time that you can focus on in your marketing messages.
The next one's a personal question.
Okay. I love a personal question.
Amy asked, what is your greatest lesson so far this year?
Wow. This year. I think I've got so many. And as an MG, I find it really hard to ever bring it down to one. But I think one, and this is more personal than it is business, I think the greatest lesson that I've learnt this year is to do with my Open G Center, to really discover and learn that although I was completely unconscious to it, that I had been carrying around a wound of unlovable, of being, lack of lovability, being unlovable, that I had this huge wound that I just did not know was there, being in a marriage for 25 years. Honestly, I think at many points in my marriage, it was my elephant in the room and that I chose not to look at it. And I think my biggest lesson this year has actually been to go through the process of healing myself, healing from this hole in me that I felt was there, that I wasn't lovable, that how could anyone love me, the awareness of how I do everything in my power until I have no energy left for the people that I love, to prove how lovable I am. And these are all things that have been huge, and it plays out everywhere. The way we do one thing is the way we do everything. So I think this lovability piece, and it's still a work in progress, don't get me wrong, like as much as I would love it to be done yesterday, it's, we're still going through the process and healing. But I think that is probably personally my biggest lesson this year, is really, really knowing on a cellular level that I am lovable. And it's not my doing that is lovable, it's my being. Again, all this stuff that I know, cognitively from the adult brain, I know, but my inner child was just nowhere near. It was like a huge cognitive dissonance. And then I think the other greatest lesson that I've learned this year is how good I am at business. I didn't realize, I'm just here doing my thing. I'm just here following what lights me up. I'm here being a line 5. I want to universalize everything. I'm having all of these experiences. I'm making a freaking mess half the time. But one of my greatest lessons this year is, oh my God, everything that I've done, and I mean, I'm just talking about my personal journey, and it's not just me that got this business here. Don't get me wrong. Like, obviously this one here plays a large part. My entire team play a huge part. But I had given my power away to my team. There was this part of me that was like, they're all good at their things. But this year I've really learned, oh, hang on a second. No, I'm good at business. Like, it's me that's good at it. Like, I can repeat it. I'm we know we're successful when we can keep running the experiment and getting similar results, or better results, or whatever it is. Like, I can create success in a business, the end. So I think that's also been one of my biggest lessons this year is, and now working with private clients directly on business success and growing businesses, I'm like, wow, I really am really good at this. So I think that's a personal one and a professional one.
Yeah, I love that. And yes, you are very good at business and success and all the things.
Turns out so.
I mean, getting to just be in your energy every day and watch the way you work and the way you think and the way you do things. It's more inspiring than I think you realize.
Thank you.
And what you said about one of your biggest lessons being like, it's your doing or your being, not your doing. like for me as well, that's definitely, I think this year something I've anchored in. I feel like that's been my lesson the last 3 years, but this year I really feel like, okay, I finally get it.
Yeah.
So for everyone out there who is an overdoer, it's your being, okay?
Yeah. And, I just want to add to that because I've known it's my being, not my doing, cognitively in my conscious mind since, 2015. I've known that. But it's taken me a long time to integrate it, to keep doing the work. Now, I've still had the success. I've still, manifested what I want to manifest, but I want you to understand that it's not something you just flick a switch and it just happens. Like, you have to just keep reminding yourself, hang on, my value, my meanness is in my being. Everything is in my being. My being is what matters. My doing is freaking epic too, don't get me wrong, but it's my being that is the thing that makes me me. And that's what I came into this life to live and experience, and that's what everyone wants from me. So for those of you that get the whole being versus doing thing, but feel like you're not there yet, just know that it's coming.
Okay. Our next question is a question I'm actually really curious to hear your answer to. This is from Danica. I'm a pure generator, sacral authority. My personality sun is gate 55. While I'm non-emotional, would you describe gate 55 as having an emotional wave of its own? I feel the highs and lows so deeply, and I'm wondering how you would describe it since gate 55 is located in the solar plexus, but mine is open.
Okay. This is such a great question. And when we talk about our personality sun, like our sun makes up, like in astrology, they talk about it being 70% of who we are, right? For me, the way I like to think of it is our personality sun. Everything within our design filters out. It's like, imagine that your personality sun is the plug hole, okay? And everything like goes out, down at the sink through that, right? So it has a massive influence over everything that we be, everything that we do. And when you have an emotional gate, especially the 55, because it's very emotional, like it can be very, very high, very low, very melancholy, but also like the most uncapped freedom. But when that sits in an undefined center, oftentimes people are going to say, well, you're just non-emotional, you don't feel it. Well, yeah, you do, because it's this big, significant energy of yours. But I want you to imagine it's like a switch. We talk a lot about our genes being switched on and off. It's exactly the same thing. It gets switched on and off. But because it's such a big energy for you, it's like your brain, I'm going to say, your mind fills in the blanks. So what happens is that when you are completely, like, let's say you completely clear out all the conditioning in your solar plexus, if that's in fact possible. But let's say, like a lot of us, we'll clean it, we'll really clean up our undefined centers, and we'll be, let's say, like 80%. Like we're not governed by our unconscious, our not self anymore, all those things, right? But at the end of the day, your mind is jumping in every time the 55 is switched off. Okay. So what that means is that when 50% of the global population are emotional, so 50% of the people you come across are switching your 55 on, okay, as soon as you're in aura with them. Then whatever's going on in the transits, that's switching it on as well. So it's on a lot of the time, but when it switches off, the mind tries to jump in with all sorts of behaviors to fill the gap, if you like. So this is where you want to be really aware of, okay, well, I don't have an emotional authority. And I actually teach this in HDX in the emotional wave part. Sometimes you still need to just go through the process of clearing up, almost like you're an emotional being, but you're not. Because what's happening is when it gets switched off, you're running all the emotional patterns still, even though they're not there anymore. They're just poof, they're not there anymore. But the brain, the neural pathway, has created this pattern that'll keep running. So ultimately, the more you decondition the solar plexus, the more you're going to notice that sometimes you're going to feel really emotional, and maybe your partner or your family or your kids or someone that's in the house with you all the time is an emotional being. So yours is on a lot, meaning that you are feeling the wave constantly. But again, the wave isn't something to react to. It's something to be aware of. Okay. So it's just very much about understanding, well, if I'm feeling an emotional low, or in this case, I'm feeling melancholic, I'm feeling really like, oh, woe is me, that's fine. But don't tell stories of like, I'm feeling woe is me because this person did that to me. Like, you got to just not do that. You just got to accept that that's where you are in that wave, because this person's switching the wave on for you right now, or at least the gate on for you right now. So that will feel like a wave, even though you don't have a wave. Please do not misunderstand me. You do not have an emotional wave, but it's just about understanding that it's being switched on and off. And when it's off, it's about being able to let it go, because you're not naturally an emotional person, but it's about letting that energy go instead of the mind trying to fill the gap with stories of, emotion.
Yeah, well said. And I will say, as a non-emotional, it's such a great thing to learn about just letting it go and not attaching the mind to the feeling. It's so freeing. I mean, just Tuesday last week, I was like, I feel completely not like myself. My mind is going crazy. I feel really low. And I mean, we just gotten back from a 22-hour flight as well. So I think I was really tired. But the point is that you just reminded me, like, you were like, just don't attach a story to it. You're just feeling this way. And it might take a day, it might take a week, but don't make it mean something. That helped a lot. And then I woke up the next day, literally the Energizer Bunny, like bouncing off the walls. So
yeah. I think it's really, really important, really important that we don't, whether we're emotional or non-emotional, not attach a meaning to it, Yeah. Cool.
One more question.
Okay.
The next question, or the final question, is what do you think the listeners of your podcast would be most surprised to learn about you?
Oh, I love this. I know this one. I know this one because it was the thing that Taylor was like, what the fuck?
This is my question. This is me. I'm asking this.
Oh, right. So the thing that I think you guys would be most surprised to learn about me is that I drive a very, very fast car, and I drive it very, very fast. I love fast cars.
That's what I was hoping you would answer with.
And I'm an absolutely epically good driver, to the point where when I first got this little car, I had taken my youngest son a number of times in the car out to the horse, which is a beautiful windy road out the back. And back then, Justin had jumped in and he was driving, and he said to Oscar, he said, "Are you okay, mate? Are you sorry? Like, am I going too fast?" And he just turns to Justin and goes, "No, Dad, Mum goes much faster than you do." And for everyone out there, I'm super responsible. I've been driving like this, like not irrationally. I'm very good at this. I take very calculated risks. I'm not like an idiot. But I think that's probably the thing. Like, I love fast cars and I love driving really fast cars. It makes my heart sing.
There's nothing that makes me happier than the look on your face when you get like an open road and you just get to change the gears 6 times and just fly.
Oh my God, I just love it. The entrance ramp to the freeway, like no one's in your way, windy road, good, solid, 110 kilometer speed limit. Yeah, it makes me happy.
Good answer. I was hoping you would say that.
Yeah, so cool. Well, that's it for us today. Thank you so much for playing along at home, for sending in your questions. We absolutely love hearing from you guys and being able to support you. So thank you so much, my friends. I trust that you got what you needed from today's episode, and I so look forward to having you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.